Let's make buildings great again. Yes, let's make them great again. Hey everyone, I'm Jonathan, a building biologist and a certified residential mold inspector. I'm also the founder of JF Healthy Homes. If you don't know what a building biologist is, that's exactly what I'm here to explain to you today, and kind of how we can help in ensuring that you are living better indoors and giving you solutions and advocacy on how to do so. So we're going to go through an article that I wrote for Sinusitis Wellness. So the article is on sinusitiswellness.com, and it's about what a building biologist does and how we can create a truly healthy home with what we do and how we can help you. So most people only really think about their homes when something is off, or when something breaks, or something smells off, or they feel like something's off, right? But what if your home could actually help you actively feel better? What if it could be a space where you could sleep deeper, breathe easier, and recover faster every single day? Wouldn't that be amazing? This is the aim of building biology. It's shaping this indoor environment so that it's health affirming in each and every way possible, as nature intended. If you've never met a building biologist, you're likely not alone. Many people don't really even know what we do, which is totally understandable, and they don't even know we exist, right? So, I really hope to change that, because I do feel that it's very important, not just because I am a building biologist, but because I feel like the goal of building biology as a whole, from when it began, is just so needed and so necessary in the world that we live in. In the article, I break down what the profession is and how we offer different solutions, how an assessment looks, and how that differs from a traditional home or mold inspection, and also how remediations play into that, and the details of what happens when you invite a building biologist into your home, and how we use evidence-based tools such as microbalance products, some of my favorite things, to integrate those into creating and supporting an ecosystem for healing and health that's in line with nature once again. You'll notice that I talk about nature and how we're aligned with that a lot throughout this. So what is a building biologist? That's a good question. So building biology is a holistic practice that's focused on the relationship between people, nature, and buildings. Rather than looking at a symptom or just one effect of the building, say mold, or a musty odor, or a moisture spot, we study the whole entire system or ecosystem of the home. So that includes moisture dynamics, the indoor air quality, building materials, very important, ventilation, with mechanical systems, water quality, EMF or electromagnetic exposures, electromagnetic radiation, and of course the occupational habits, the occupant habits and maintenance patterns that we can use then to get to the root cause, right? To take the symptoms and actually take that up to the root cause so we can solve it at the root cause and not have things continually affect the building and the inhabitants. So really our North Star is nature is the gold standard. That is really at the forefront of building biology. So that actually means a few of these things, right? To put it into perspective, we can identify and eliminate the causes of poor indoor air quality, so hidden leaks, pressure imbalances, high particulate loads, off-gassing materials, all those sorts of things. We can also recommend least toxic or low toxic source first integrations, as well as mitigation and remediation, depending on what we're trying to accomplish or what we're dealing with in terms of the toxin. And we can also help you maintain the conditions where mold and biotoxins and chemical residues and all sorts of VOCs are less likely to become a problem once more, to continually be a problem, right? That's the source, treating the source. So traditional building disciplines really optimize the structure or the code compliance or safety, which is important, 100%, very, very important. But building biology really optimizes how your body actually experiences the space and how we react to it. How does this differ from a mold inspector or a typical, remediator? While I am a mold inspector myself, I do differ because I am a building biologist as well. Mold inspectors, fantastic, focus on confirming the presence and the extent of the mold or moisture damage, They use a lot of different tools like visual cues, flashlights, moisture meters, thermal, and sampling, of course. And then the output from that is a really great report, usually a takeaway describing the conditions and some basic recommendations or protocol for remediation, which is awesome. The remediators then are coming in and actually taking care of that remediation process, removing the mold, the source contaminants, hopefully fixing the root cause or getting to that root cause and figuring out the extent of the damage. And they use a lot of different tools too, right? Negative pressure, containment, HEPA vacuums, HEPA scrubbers, HEPA purifiers, all the HEPAs, and other methods, right, to remediate to the industry standard, which is the IICRC S520 or S500, depending on what we're dealing with. And then the output from that, hopefully, ideally, is a clean and remediated space that then the mold inspector can come back into, ideally the same person who did the pre-check, and do what's called a PRV, or a post-remediation verification, to clear that remediation and say, great job, it was done well, everything's clean, and we're good for build back, right? So on the other side of that, or kind of in tandem with that, but a little bit deeper, is the building biologist, which is me, yours truly. Hello. So our focus is really the whole ecosystem of the home. So not just the mold, not just the remediation, not just identifying or fixing it, but getting to the moisture, the actual causes, the air, particulate, the VOCs, EMF or EMR, ventilation, filtration, materials in the building, the occupational habits, and so much more than that, right? It goes on and on, list goes on and on. So we use a variety of tools, same tools, moisture, thermal mapping, particle counts, differential pressure checks, static pressure checks, VOCs, formaldehyde, EMF, and then of course looking at the health pattern. So a lot of the clients that I deal with, particularly our CIRS, right, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, or have MCAS. So after this, we come up with a clear plan and advocacy with source control, and then, the ventilation, the filtration, material choice, and maintenance. And we coach or we advocate for these clients to really get their health back and to get the building back to health with nature as a gold standard so that they can heal in this space. Mold work is very crucial, very critical, but building biology looks at the whole ecosystem of the home, including the health of the occupant. What do I actually do during the home visit? And this kind of varies, right? Every home is different. Every home is concerned with different things, or occupants are dealing with different things. So first of all, it's about listening to the client and clarifying with them, right? Resonating with them and understanding fully what their goals are, right? What they're dealing with, what they're struggling with. And a lot of times that looks like focusing on sleep areas or areas that they spend a lot of time, and kind of putting together pieces, right, to form patterns. I always say look for the symptoms and get to the cause, right? So we have to get to the root cause from there. So connecting those things, and that begins with the overall investigation of what's going on in the home, with the health of the inhabitants, and then also with the health of the home. Then we go and map the moisture a lot of times, or do thermal imaging, hygrometers, looking for areas of thermal bridging or thermal mass that might be missing, some thermal breaks that might have degraded or not been there around windows, let's say. That goes into give us a little bit of an idea of where to look or hone into. Sometimes we use mold dogs as well, which can be very great for helping us find hidden mold behind walls or in other areas that we can't see. A lot of different tools there too, right? Borescopes and wall cavity sampling and a whole slew of different things. It's more about how we approach it and using the right tools at the right time than the tools themselves. And then also we look at the air and the pressure, right? We use manometers, we use static pressure checks, look at CO2, look at carbon monoxide. Sometimes we look at sewer gases, all sorts of different things that could be causing an effect on the inhabitants' health or the health of the building, causing residual health effects. And then we also look into the systems, right? We open up the HVAC, look into there, see what might be going on, if there's negative pressurization, if areas are, have material in them that might be contaminated, testing that, looking at water quality, air quality, EMF, all those different aspects, and finding out the why, the where, and the how to get those issues resolved. That comes with a lot of suggestions as well, typically after for the clients and getting them back to health. This also involves maintenance, right? So using a lot of the great microbalance products to maintain the home is really where we like to put a lot of that focus. This all boils down to one deliverable, right? And that is what to do next so we can live better or live better indoors. And we got to prioritize the health impact and the cost. So the tools and the cleaning products really fit into this approach in a few ways, right? The mechanical filtration, that really helps to clean up the air particulate and to also get some clean air going in the house, even if we're living in a moldy situation. And then using low toxic cleaning and maintenance products, right? So a lot of microbalance stuff. Of course, I really love the EC3 products, even the candles I have right here. So something like this, the candles, right? The beeswax candles, absolutely one of my favorite things. We use a lot of the nasal sprays. They have the EC3 candles, so we have the spray products, it's very good. Things that can really help to lessen the load. Of course, if there's a mold issue going on in the house, like we really need to actually address that issue and get that removed, or biotoxin and get that removed. But a lot of these products, the EC3 products, the sprays, the wipes, all of that can really help alleviate some of that space, the contamination of the space. And then of course we want to do, preventative things like putting in appropriate low chemical, replacements for materials, low VOC or zero VOC, ideally dehumidifying, making sure that humidity is regulated throughout the house, which has to do a lot with pressurization and mechanicals, and a whole bunch of other things that keep the ecosystem healthy, right? I really don't like the spray and pray approach of coating things or using encapsulation paints. Encapsulation paints are widespread use, things like, I won't say the names, but different products that you put on areas of mold remediation that I don't feel are long-term fixes. So that's why I really also like microbalance, because we can clean, we can launder, we can use things that are science and evidence-based to actually remove spores from areas, right? I was dealing with a client who went through 2 remediations over 2 years, and their symptoms kept coming back. And finally they called us in, right? And we found that the air handler was not draining properly due to the pitch of the drain pan, right? So that negative pressure, and there was also negative pressure in the upstairs hall that was pulling attic air through recessed lights, as well as through the attic access ladder. They had a return right next to that, HVAC return, that was just cycling the air right back in there. So a loop that was pulling in dirty air into the space. And also their system was getting choked off by a too strong of a filter for their system, which was causing it to not be able to dehumidify properly, the mechanicals, right? And that happens a lot, right? We're putting these high efficiency filters in because we think it's better to remove more particulate, but our systems actually can't handle that. So I usually recommend like a MERV 10, MERV 11. Get the particulate out, let the system dehumidify and do its job. And if needed, we can also put on, right, HEPA, bypass HEPA filter or inline HEPA filter, but you should work with an HVAC professional on that. So yeah, we corrected the drain slope and added a float switch, not us, but HVAC professionals, sealed the attic penetrations and balanced the pressures. We installed a properly fitting filter and added a room HEPA for the upstairs sleeping areas, right, the filtration. Set the dehumidification target to 50% around and adjusted the ventilation run times. That way it's not constantly running and constantly dehumidifying. And we also swapped a lot of their high VOC fragrance cleaners that would typically be used to clean an HVAC. We just cleaned it with some microbalance. Again, really awesome, great stuff. And then we used the electrostatic fogger through their hard ducts, which you can do. Now they're feeling better. A few weeks later, nothing super major, right? No super costly fixes, but they're feeling better and everything is clean. And how I got into this field, right? I got into this field because I had gone through failed remediations, illness, seeing my kids ill and my wife ill, myself ill. I just saw clients initially going through between different people and different sources, getting different answers. And I just kind of finally just said, like, I need to figure this out for myself, for my own family, my own sanity, but also to help people because there's such a lack of that out there. So, on a quick tidbit, how I work with clients, right? We get a free discovery call. I reach out, free discovery call. And then if you want to book us, we come out to do an on-site assessment. We also do virtual consulting as well for new construction and renovation and all other things that we cover. But if you want us on site, we can also travel to you. We help you with the roadmap afterwards and the coaching, the advocacy. And then we can even give you some targeted product support with things that we recommend for keeping that home maintained and preventing a lot of these issues, such as the microbalance products, which we really, really love. So at the end of the day, we want a health affirming and health supported ecosystem that is really helpful to and supportive of our human biology, right? So if you want, you can check the notes and watch the live I did on this topic and read the full article at Sinusitis Wellness. Go follow Microbalance at Microbalance Health on Instagram and myself at JF Healthy Homes on Instagram, or go check us out at www.jfhealthyhomes.com.